So we'll be recording this and sharing it, and that's part of the point of these is to be sure that people can learn from them in the future. And I'm going to mute you again.
Muted.
All right, and then so right now we will start with brief introductions, who you are, what your interest area is, where you are located, and then we will jump into Web Summit number, I'm not sure which, 5.
Unmuted.
And the focus for today is pilot sites, what's involved in being a mutual aid network pilot site, a few examples, and then some discussion about if you want to talk about your project as a potential pilot site, where now is a good time to kind of brainstorm about that. And we will go just about an hour. If there is good reason to keep the discussion going beyond 11 a.m. Central, we might go up to 15 or so minutes over, but generally about an hour. So, I'm Stephanie Rearick. I'm in Madison, Wisconsin. I am founder and coder of the Dane County Time Bank, where the Mutual Aid Network project originated, and we are excited to be having 2 potential pilot sites here, which I will share later.
Unmuted.
Am I next, Stephanie?
Yep.
Okay. My name's Chris Petit. I live outside of Chicago in Oak Park, currently in Madison, Wisconsin. I help with mutual aid networks in coordination with Stephanie, and I'm working to make Chicago a pilot site.
Thank you. Barry.
Chicago what?
Barry?
Chris said to make Chicago what?
Oh, a pilot site. Sorry, I keep muting you, Chris, because the tapping is still there. Okay, so go ahead with your introduction, Barry.
Hi, I'm Barry Foran. I am in the Chicago area, also in Oak Park. I have a similar approach to the MAN project, and I describe it as a simple approach to solving the big problems of our time. 2 parts. One is to help people find common interests, and the second part is to enable them to buy and sell with and without dollars. So we have a marketplace where you can buy and sell with free ads, like Craigslist, looks like Amazon, for dollars or for hours.
Great, thank you. Hello, Bruce.
Hi, Bruce Moffett, based in Madison, Wisconsin, working with Chris and Stephanie on Dane County Time Bank issues, but increasingly on the MAN, on fundraising and communications.
Great, thank you. Karen. Karen?
Karen turned into a dog.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a pretty good. I like the way she does it, man. It's very authentic, you know.
You might actually think it was a real dog.
All right, so Karen's had an eventful morning. Are you there? Okay, Helen. We'll come back to Karen if she shape shifts again.
Helen is not in Kansas anymore. I am your neighbor in Oshkosh, and that was not Toto barking, though.
You're in Oshkosh. Well,
I am in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and yes, I've had a fabulous trip, and I am here trying to weave with natural networks. So the EAA, the Experimental Aircraft Association, puts on the most fabulous family-centered event. And so I believe that that is a wonderful network for me to collaborate with. And I am just finished, that's why I was a couple minutes late. I just zipped them a proposal that would join EAA and Wellness Weavers, the wellness-oriented mutual aid network, to get in with the main man.
Great.
So, yeah, that's what I'm working on.
Go, Helen.
Thank you. Laura.
Excellent. Thanks.
Hi. I am just a volunteer, and my interest is in participating in any way that I can to help the project and projects to go forward and be successful.
Great, thank you. And can you remind us where you are?
Oh, I'm in Madison, Wisconsin.
All right, great. Thank you. Michael. Hello.
Hello, this is Michael. I'm here in the home of a boat in Rhode Island. Yeah, I'm working to create a Greater Providence mutual aid network called the FUNK, the Fertile Underground Natural Co-op. And yeah, glad to be here, glad to be making it happen.
Wonderful. I'm glad you could join us. And I'll ask you later. If you have to leave early, let me know when is a good time to get to you to do your overview, and otherwise we'll just get to it as it comes up in the flow, okay?
Yeah, sounds fine.
Cool. Thank you. Scott Murto.
Hi, everyone. This is Scott Murto. I consider myself sort of the liaison for the Mid-Michigan Mutual Aid Network, trying to bring together a bunch of different groups here that are just starting to get off the ground. The Mid-Michigan Time Bank, the Capital Village Trade Cooperative, the Lansing Makers Network. We're all sort of at the same similar stages of early growth and expansion, and looking forward to man networks, and so that we can continue to build our networks here locally and globally.
Great. And we'll hear a bit more about how you envision that moving forward in this summit too.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Tim Dalton. Hello.
Helps if I unmute. Hi, Tim Dalton in New Jersey, West Milford Time Bank in West Milford, New Jersey, in the beautiful woods. And I've been focusing a lot on talking to people that are in related groups in the area, and sort of pumping the concept and seeing who might want to be interested. I'm always interested in reaching out to other groups because I see this as such a generalized concept, and still trying to get some interest here in town, which may happen in setting up some sort of a pilot site here or one of the earlier sites in the thing, depending on the timing.
Cool, great. Tony.
Hey, everybody. My name's Tony Dudak. I'm here in Youngstown, Ohio, Northeast Ohio, and we cover 4 counties. We're modeled after Stephanie's comprehensive time bank, which takes in a broader, not a narrow focus, but a broad focus to develop people using the time bank program. And my focus here is really outreach to groups, start groups, communities, and develop a local network under an umbrella concept of co-production, working from the bottom up here in the Valley. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Anyone else who has not introduced yet?
I'm back, Karen.
Oh, great. Hello.
Sorry, I got that call. I put my phone on mute, so that.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, Karen Hansen. I'm in the Ocala, Gainesville, Florida area. I'm a web designer, and I am very passionate about everything the Mutual Aid Network is about, although I do not have a working group. So I'm looking for people that are involved or want to be involved in this Central Florida area And meanwhile, I'm a web designer, so I'm doing a lot of things on the Chris and I and other people as well on the Mutual Aid Network website.
And thank you so much for that. Yeah, so everyone should be aware that Karen showed up to help and created this little website. Great work.
Thank you, Karen.
Like many of you, I mean, she just arrived and just started rocking the house. So thank you very, very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Very
Great.
much
So,
so.
are we missing
you.
anyone else? All right, I'm going to jump into just a little overview about sort of pilot sites and our approach and why we are taking this approach and what a pilot site is. And then I'll have the other people in other locations describe your pilot, jump into ours, just to give you guys a little more variety to start. But first of all, just very briefly, I think probably all of you on here are aware of this, but just a quick overview. Mutual aid networks are an answer to, or a potential answer to, a bunch of questions that we have had for a long time, which kind of center around how we use these kind of cooperative economic tools that we've been promoting, that we think have so much potential. How do we really make them start having the kind of impact that we really believe they can have? And some of the answers, so some of what we were looking for are ways that we should organize ourselves. The typical sort of nonprofit structure is not necessarily doesn't necessarily facilitate the kind of flow and activity that we're looking to facilitate in time banking or other kind of cooperative economic systems. So looking for ways that we could organize ourselves to create more flow, create more transparency, more real authentic ownership of systems by their participants, but also connect things like time banking with other tools that could really increase the effectiveness. So cooperatively managed money, other forms of currency like price-based mutual credit, and also really creating a system or systems that would really feed the commons. One of the things that we recognized early on in our journey with complementary currencies and time banking is a lot of it is still just built on transactions and an assumption that everything is individually privately owned, and we gift things to each other, we exchange things with each other, and we wanted to put sharing and building a commons back in the center of our economic life. So what we believe and what we're ready to test is we believe that we could really help change the dynamics into a more self-sustaining system and a more generative, regenerative economy if we connect a lot of these pieces wisely. So what idea we have come to is you could form a mutual aid network, which is essentially a type of cooperative. We're defining a new type of cooperative. So you can form a mutual aid network for any purpose at any size or scale. And you, as the members of that mutual aid network, you own it, you make the decisions, you govern it together. And as the members of that, you are stewarding these resources in service of your common purpose. So instead of just making a time bank that does time banking, or just making a savings pool that helps people pay their health expenses, or just making a tool library, we make a mutual aid network, or we call it a MAN for short. We make a MAN for the purpose that we want, and it might be just to support each other in our community. It might be to help us do all the work that we want to do as individuals. It might be to restore a watershed. It might be a travel and culture exchange. It could be something to feed people on your block. So again, any size, scope, or purpose is fine. But we make a mutual aid network, and then we use those tools in service of our common purpose. And then using the cooperative structure and some various types of agreements and some aspects of cooperative law, we can sort of make the different exchange tools and resources flow a little bit more easily and have a little bit more fluidity. For example, I might have access mainly to earning time bank hours, but I might have a need that can only be filled in dollars. And because we're a co-op and we can use cooperative law and cooperative agreements, I can find ways to get money as a reward, as a member reward or a member rebate, or from the cooperatively managed pool, even though what I was initially able to earn for that work was time. But just there's some ways that we can have more fluid ways that we can exchange the kinds of value we're able to earn for the kinds of value that we need to meet our expenses. And we're really looking to create networks of people who are doing these kinds of things and using a variety of types of reward and compensation and incentivization to really meet our needs. So really create budgeting tools that help us see our way to really be able to rely on these kind of systems with more security, essentially. So the idea that we came to is there are a lot of different initiatives all over the world, a lot of individuals who are ready to do something like this. And people who are ready, or initiatives who are ready, I would say, are something where you have an established project. It can be a brand new project, but a lot of our pilot sites already have some kind of established project. For example, ours is starting in a time bank. But we've run up against the limitations of the one tool that we're using. So for us in Dane County Time Bank, the limitation that we have is we're constantly going for grants and constantly looking for ways to subsidize the administration of the time bank. And it's often difficult for us to meet our monetary needs or meet the needs of sort of more intensive, like if we need a copier, for example. Some of the things that are more are a little bit more difficult to obtain in terms of things, or that you actually just really need money for. So we're looking for ways that we can become more self-sustaining on that front. So our next step in creating a mutual aid network will be to pull in that cooperative savings and investment piece. Conversely, someone might be starting as a co-op and wanting to bring in time banking to really be able to build up their human resources that are available and build up their connections with community. So that's a long way of saying that people who should consider piloting a MAN are, if you have an initiative that you'd like to formalize further and or develop additional tools for. So what that means is if you have a time bank that's doing everything you want to do and it's doing it well, there's no need really to turn into anything else. So we just want to be sure that it's something that really helps further the goals of an individual initiative. So another reason to consider piloting one is if you see a way that participation could be mutually beneficial. So what we're doing is starting with pilot sites in different locations with different strengths and different limitations, and that way we can really learn really rapidly from each other. When people choose to be a pilot site, I'll get to this in a minute. We'll talk about a memorandum of agreement that we will enter into. But when you choose to become a pilot site, you're choosing to share all your learning, your evaluation of your efforts, the materials that you're creating in support of your efforts. And we're doing this in a spirit of really rapid experimentation and learning, and really understanding that there's no such thing as failure in this context. If you try something and it isn't meeting the goals that you had laid out for it, you are really serving the world by documenting that experiment and helping us understand what works under what local conditions, so we can learn from each other. So, and then of course it needs to benefit you in your initiative to be part of mutual aid networks, and we'll talk about ways that could happen. Another criteria for considering piloting a MAN, if you or someone you work closely with would like to take responsibility for stewardship, ideally with a 3-year commitment. So we're really looking for pilot sites that will be, will have people or teams of people who are sticking with us for at least 3 years to really see what we can do with this model of really changing how we budget things and really replacing our need for money with building up other types of cooperative supports. And then if you are willing and able to secure additional resources to support your local project. So we'll get into this a little bit more too, but one of the plans for pilot projects is for us to embark on some cooperative, collaborative fundraising, some crowdfunding for all the pilot sites. And so we'll be looking to help each other develop seed funding for our sites. But every pilot site will really need to be able to secure its own resources to support the work that it's doing. And we want to make sure that no one gets a false impression that this is just something that we as the main man will be able to funnel money into. We're all in this together with raising the resources that we need. So pilot sites are individual projects, can be any size, scale, scope, any purpose within the core principles. You can find our core principles right from this website, mutualaidnetwork.org. And the core principles come from time banking principles, cooperative Rochdale principles, and then also governance of the commons. And then those who choose to, and this is open to any project or individual around the world, can join the main man. And that is our umbrella overarching co-op mutual aid network that we have created to support each other and use these kind of resource sharing and exchange tools to support each other. So we just opened the main man for membership at the beginning of June and soft launched it. So right now it's really for the people who want to get in and play with it and help shape it and get it in shape for a proper public launch at the end of August. But the main man is a co-op incorporated here in Wisconsin, open to membership for people around the world. And we expect early members to be people who want to have pilot sites, and then also people anywhere in the world who really want this kind of stuff to happen. And one of the goals of the main man is to connect thinkers, designers, software developers, writers, all the various people who really want to see a different kind of economy and a different approach to work, give them a chance to connect with everyone else. There are a lot of people doing great work. Karen, you mentioned yourself included, doing really good work with a really clear perspective on this, who don't necessarily have a local community around them yet, or they might not be in a situation where one would easily develop, and we really want to give people a chance to connect with communities that could implement their ideas and work hand in hand with them. We were aiming to start with at least 6 pilot sites, and part of that for me actually was like playing around with 6 degrees of separation and seeing how quickly we can spread things through natural networks of people working together and supporting each other. Fortunately, we actually have more than double that number, very serious potential pilot sites in development, and you can see this list here. I'll make it big. And we're going to hear from a few of the pilot sites, and I think we might as well start with that. We can come back to the memorandum of agreement. I'm unmuting you. Oh no, you muted yourself, Chris. Sorry. If you want to jump in to suggest, when we do the MOA, go ahead. And otherwise, I'm just going to ask either Mike Giroux or Scott to go first about in discussing your pilot site. Which one of you would like to start? How about you, Michael, if you're ready, because I can just have it up on the screen. You there?
Yeah, I can take just a minute. I'm working, so I've just got a quick minute, but I'll pop aside. So we are here in Providence, or Greater Providence, to open a grocery store. So we have like a food co-op in Providence. We've been open for 3.5 years, or 4 years almost. And it was always imagined as like a wider network of other co-op businesses that could exchange, say, like a local currency backed by food and agricultural, like farms and stuff. So I kind of held back and did a lot of research and learning about how to do that within the rule of law and not as a black market, but actually as like a legit independent co-op that governs itself, et cetera, et cetera. And hooking up with the mutual aid network, I feel like what you said, Stephanie, where we're all going to be trying out different things and being able to learn from what's working, what's not, is just super valuable. And I'll be willing to share a lot of what I'm noticing isn't working as far as people transitioning into worker co-ops when they're accustomed psychologically to traditional employment schemes and stuff like that. So right now I'm partnering with a permaculture group called Revive the Roots to work with them. They've been forming like a business incubator kind of thing, mostly ecologically based, but I think it kind of runs the gamut. And so I'm really focusing on people who I already know are, you know, taking steps and have taken steps. They have a farm and, you know, just different farmers I know and things like that. And my first project that I want to launch on it is a mobile food truck soup kitchen. And I'm trying to, well, basically I'm intending to run it as a completely non-commercial venture that has no food victualizing licenses or anything, because it doesn't sell food at all. It just gives food away and potentially would distribute food to members of a mutual aid network here, pre-order food and pay in alternate units. So which is really exciting for me. I'm pretty fed up with the U.S. economy. It's not serving me very well. However, I am currently employed and glad to be so because my worker co-op is mostly paying taxes and insurance and not paying me. So anyway, so that's going on here. You know, a lot of work, and I just feel like if we really, you know, it's that time to get smart and we can really start supporting each other. And you know, I hope not everyone has to go through like, you know, years and years of like scraping everything together. I hope we can have like a really thick network so that when we have needs, we're able to meet each other's needs. Because I know people would be glad to do that for me, but it's hard to know how to reach out or be connected for us all to help each other. So yes, I think that's kind of the scene. Thanks a lot. I'm going to be dipping in and out of work, but I can listen in because I'm not grinding today. I'm just taping. We're painting. We're painting a super yacht out here. So great. Well, thanks a lot. And feel free to ask. I don't know if I can really do much of a Q&A. I've got to run. But thanks,
okay.
guys.
Okay, so you need to go right now. Okay. I was going to see if there are questions. Okay.
If there's one, I can take it.
Any question?
This is Helen. I do have a question.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to figure out how I could become a member of your groups.
Well, that's a great question.
Can we use technology and creative memberships, and then I want to, you know, establish the travel network within the woman so that I can, you know, use things like U-Haul and general aviation to stay linked on an occasional basis with other communities in person?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, at this, yeah, I've got a lot of the like things like membership agreements and stuff. A lot of what I have are like, you know, third and fourth drafts, but I've been, you know, really wanting to go take another look at them and stuff. So at the moment, I'm kind of still in the preliminary, and as I'm, you know, I'm talking with people who want to sign up. Yeah, I'm just kind of creating things on demand. That's kind of been
to figure out how our memberships fees would go. You know,
we can provide editing services for time dollars. You know.
All right. Yeah, I would love to share some of the things we've had. I mean, we have, you know, we've run memberships through a worker co-op for years, but it's slightly different in that it's like one specific business, and the membership requirement was the equivalent of days of work, you know, unpaid days that go towards a membership share. You know, so that's what I have done in the past, which is just based on like Polish and Italian worker co-ops, and And I still think that's a great contribution. 1 day unpaid a month over 3 years as a buy-in. That's what we've done.
Okay. And then where you're looking for core team members and I'm looking for core team members, you guys have the knowledge base of the permaculture and that kind of stuff, and I have the knowledge base of the health and humor and family play. And so I'm wondering if we could be each other's core team members.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think with a lot of that, I think that the main man is going to link up a lot of that too, as far as internationally.
Exactly.
So I love that we can each be members of the main man and probably be getting a lot of that happening. But one of the I definitely, I mean, health care and is a huge part of what I'm trying to push for. In that I've been fighting Lyme and I have to fight it alone because the insurance industry doesn't recognize that I have any health issues. So
yeah.
So this is the core stuff, and I would love to talk with you about this because healing is much greater than just taking a few tinctures or herbs or pills. It's like a lifestyle thing and a mental thing, at least.
Exactly. And I just got a fabulous email today from the NIH.
This is Tony. Excuse me. Could we have a point of order here and get on with the purpose of this meeting?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna run too, guys. Thanks a lot.
thank you very much, Michael. But getting back to the main man, that is the point of it, is to connect us. And right now is a really good time to put up your offers and wants in these things. So exactly the exchanges that you were just talking about, Helen and Mike, this is what the main man is trying to facilitate. And then actually something that we'll need to explore, we will be working on helping shape this technology. So we're using Weezer platform to manage our marketplace and project management things. And now is the time to start entering your offers and requests and playing with it, so we can really understand how we make it useful, maximally useful for us. All right, so let's move on to Scott Murto. Let's hear about your pilot site in Lansing.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. I apologize at the outset for not having any sort of presentation or slides or anything like that. I will throw up in the chat one of the nodes, I guess, since we're part of a network, mutual aid network, and we need to be looking at our local communities in terms of like what they have available. And this particular makers network here in Lansing is extraordinary. It is one of the few, actually, that adheres to cooperative principles. Not all of them do. Most of them, well, I haven't actually like run the numbers or anything, but like it seems to me that most of them are like for-profit enterprises. But there are makers networks in virtually every major city that would be, if they're not already, would be amenable to cooperative principles. And I'm just throwing out this one node here that we're looking at in Lansing. There are other organizations as well that we are looking at linking up with to form the Mid-Michigan Mutual Aid Network, and the next one is in the chat room there. Another example. This is a group of people into local agriculture. They need access to funds. They need access to resources. They need access to wealth and capital. The Mid-Michigan Mutual Aid Network is going to bring those two groups that just appeared there in the chat room, or GoToMeeting viewer, in a way that will enable them to capitalize on our shared resources so that the following will not be necessary in the future. Coming up in the chat room there. Although Indiegogo is great, oh, I'm sorry. There it is. We have a huge population of people that are just chomping at the bit for something like this. Last year, one of the people in the Capital Village Trade Cooperative wanted to get his business up and running. And he did not have access to the capital that he needed to do so. So he ended up partnering with a local restaurant within the Indiegogo campaign, which is cool. That's fine. But had the Mid-Michigan Mutual Aid Network been in existence and linked up with all of these other mutual aid networks, he wouldn't have had to have either done an Indiegogo in the first place to buy a building, or after he found he couldn't get the capital to buy the building, partner with a local restaurant to just, cook some food there. He would have had access to capital to do incredible, amazing things. And he could have linked with the Lansing Makers Network too. So there are all these opportunities. There are people that have incredible energies and visions and dreams and want to make them come true. And it is challenging, to say the least, working within the existing monetary frameworks of the neoclassical economic paradigm to make it happen in the time frames and on the terms that the world needs. And the Mutual Aid Network is a perfect example of how we can bring all these amazing people together and empower them to do the things that the world needs to get done. And so we're in the process of discovering each other, because the Capital Village Trade Cooperative, the Lansing Makers Network, hop over back to that real quick, because that's a cool group. If you guys don't know about Lansing or about Makers Networks in general, check them out. They are really cool. Shared tools, cutting tools, metal cutting tools, wood cutting tools, fabrics. I mean, they have shared space, shared tools. It's a perfect match. And here in Lansing, the Time Bank got started at about the same time that the Makers Network got started, at about the same time that the Capital Village Trade Cooperative got started. And we all need to come together here so that we can pool our resources and our energies and tap outside resources, because with a group like this, people dream big. People have incredible visions, and the reason why one of the members is partnering with the Avenue Restaurant, which, Stephanie, you played there before.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a great venue. They have a great kitchen, but it's not a long-term kind of situation. They need a building of their own. They need a kitchen. We need to bring all these forces together, and organically they might have come about naturally on their own, and they are coming about on their own naturally, as these different interest groups and energies sort of, into each other, and there's synergies that people find and stuff like that. That's natural, and benefits are accruing. But if there was an overarching umbrella where we could bring all these groups together and say, look, okay, let's have a coherent framework, let's pool our resources, and by the way, you're also hooked up with all these other similar networks in all these other cities across the country and around the world, that you don't have to worry about going to the bank, you know, $40,000 loan for some building, you know, on the south side of town. I mean, they could set their sights higher and, you know, strategize. Because when, you know, when you're constrained monetarily in the existing economic system, it limits your choices and the potentialities for expanding the paradigm in the larger community. And the man here in mid-Michigan is going to empower us to do that.
Great, cool. So
that's my very long elevator pitch.
Cool. But that helps. And just to be clear with everyone, all of these, I mean, we see all these kinds of synergies and collaborations emerging all over the place, and people and groups do collaborate, and we really are working to make the framework to make that much easier. So, so in Scott's example, all these groups that might be wanting to do things together, if we form a mutual aid network where we have sort of the legal structure of the cooperative and the principles about how the decisions are made, it can give us standing to go for group funding or, you know, create a savings pool that we use together. And we'll be learning much more about how those savings pools actually work during our Man Up Summit in August. That's August 20th to 28th, and I want to make sure that's on people's radar. If you go to this mutualaidnetwork.org site and scroll down, you can see the Man Up Summit, and you can see details about what we have being scheduled. But I just scheduled a call to, I just scheduled a web meeting with the New Zealand Savings Pool people, someone from the JAK Bank in Sweden, and some other people who have experience with savings pools. And I'll come back to Scott in a minute. Oh, actually, no, Scott, do you want to talk about the environmental testing piece of what you are looking to do in your Lansing Man?
That would be a whole nother conference call, because I actually haven't. Yes, I do. Okay. Briefly, there are opportunities here in Lansing with capital equipment involving environmental laboratory testing, vacuum testing, or not just testing, but vacuum equipment, freeze-dry operation, and we are in the process also of starting up some seed cooperative owner worker owned businesses that are going to be connecting with the Mid-Michigan Mutual Aid Network and leveraging time bank people, and they're already, yeah, it's happening. Couple of different types of cooperative businesses that are up and running. One is an environmental testing company. Another one is a food freeze drying company, and then another one is an economics research company developing alternative currency forms and stuff like that.
Cool. So can I say an example of how I think the man would work in that context, and you tell me if this is correct? So like the environmental testing, for example, would be charging good money from the corporate clients that hire them, that as part of the main man, they would offer services to other members of the main man for these kind of terms. So you might be able to pay money just for the supplies and pay time for the labor, and that would go into something that, creates real value for them as a member of the main man. Is that an accurate reading of the possibility?
That is indeed accurate. Once the capitalization of the cooperative is established in terms of the new currency, then, people just pay in basically hours of labor. And so analytical laboratory testing that might cost any given person like a couple $1,000s, on the regular economic mainstream framework, it would just cost them a few hours, basically.
Great. So I'm going to jump in and I'm going to try to be very brief with our two pilot sites here, but I do want to describe them just to give you a sense of like two very different sites with different kind of scope. So the very, very first mutual aid network, the project that sort of helped really spark the understanding of the framework we wanted to create, is Allied Community Co-op, and I'm just really happy to name Allied Co-op as the first mutual aid network. And part of why I'm so excited is because I've been working with Allied Co-op since since 2011, I think, is when we really started working toward building the co-op, and it's taken a long time to come to fruition, partly because the neighborhood itself is really economically exploited. There aren't many opportunities there. People really have to scramble to find paid work, stay in it, and there's no grocery store there, there's no school. So the list goes on about the challenges that people in the neighborhood face, and it's amazing the organizing that people have done. And the co-op just voted a couple weeks ago to officially become a man pilot site and a man member, and it's very exciting. So the Allied Community Co-op is a multi-stakeholder cooperative, and I think that we are getting the picture that pretty much all of the mutual aid network co-ops are multi-stakeholder co-ops. One thing that's kind of setting us apart in our vision is mutual aid networks. We're not construing them like you make a co-op to run a business. You can make a co-op to run a business. You can make a mutual aid network for the purpose of running a particular business, but generally the purposes tend to be focused on outcomes for the individuals or the community involved. So we don't tend to think of it as the business is the goal. We think of, for example, in Allied Community Co-op, it's the overall health and well-being of the neighborhood is the goal, and we construe that really broadly to mean social, economic, physical, mental, spiritual health and well-being. So originally, the Allied Co-op, when we first started envisioning our mutual aid network, we had started an energy project, and we were doing peer energy consulting and really looking to help people save energy. Then we wanted to work toward being able to create more of an economic and community development opportunity. So what we wanted to do is work toward being able to assemble and install solar panels and then use the energy savings to really build collective wealth. And so we developed, when we were doing these workshops to really figure out how we connect different economic tools, we evaluated, all right, what makes sense with time banking? What can we do with time banking? And with time banking, we could facilitate this energy conservation training and energy conservation work. But then we were looking at what are the more complicated things that we need. What we decided we wanted to do is, as people started saving money on their energy bills, we would incentivize them to invest part of it in a community savings pool. So here's where we pull alongside the community savings. And we would start pooling our savings and then use that money, and we decided cooperatively what we'd use the money for. We were going to get a van and use that to take people on shopping trips and take young people on outings. So that was how we would use time banking to create sort of homegrown, more intensive kind of wealth, which is cooperatively managed money, and build our collective resources. Eventually, we ended up shifting gears because the last remaining food outlet, they're closed. So we are continuing being a mutual aid network, and now we've shifted to creating a buying club, working toward creating a neighborhood-owned grocery store and pharmacy, and also we're working on developing a neighborhood resource center. And all those things are actually much larger scale projects than what we were talking about with the energy project, but we're applying the same principles, using time banking to corral the labor and build the skills of people in the neighborhood and create ways that people can get rewarded for the work they're already doing, but then create avenues to start pooling our money and managing it cooperatively. And that organization is made up of residents and organizations working in the neighborhood. Then separately, we are working on manning up the Social Justice Center. And so it's another thing that will become a multi-stakeholder co-op. And that's more explicitly about the organizations and people in and around the neighborhood of the Social Justice Center coming together to support each other. And that's in early stages. But one thing that we're really looking to do is create a mutual aid savings pool that can pay off our building and just change how we pay into that and develop some shared administrative capacity for the different organizations participating in that. And that's at early stages, and we will be sharing everything we're doing. One of the things that we intend to do, and we'll get much farther with this in August when we have our in-person summit here in Madison, but we will be creating together, and I mean all of us who are participating now, will be creating sort of step-by-step guides so people can have a much clearer sense of how you pull people together, how you identify when, if, and how to make a mutual aid network, how you identify your common goals and the work that needs to be done toward them. So we realize the pioneers right now, we're kind of flying blind, although that's an overstatement because many of us have done things like this, like started time banks or started co-ops or other things. So we have all that knowledge to go from, but we're really making up the formation of mutual aid networks as we go, and then we'll document it for everyone else so you can all start with a much easier job than what we're starting with. One of the things that I will really encourage you to check out, and the links are here in a number of places to this, but this mutual aid network pilot site memorandum of agreement, this will really hold us to the sharing pieces and the mutual benefit. And Chris Petit, if you could just very briefly just call our attention to the different components of this MOA, that would be great.
Sure. So in the beginning is just basically the overview of what the agreement is. It's an agreement between the main man cooperative and the pilot sites. We want a commitment from each pilot site for 3 years, and that commitment's with one or a team of people for an initiative. And we're really asking people not to be holding the initiative by themselves. We really want people to work in teams and collaboratively. As part of this agreement, we also talk about succession planning and how the initiative will be handed off to people in the future, and that's within kind of the responsibilities of the pilot sites. So it lays out both the responsibilities of the main man and the pilot sites, and you can see those two sections. And I was just touching on one about making sure that initiatives have the best chance of success. And I can also touch on kind of the Chicago pilot site and some of those challenges and what we're working with as well. But basically, with each pilot site, we're asking pilot sites to help also raise resources. We're aiming for each pilot site to raise $100,000 for the 3 years, and then the pilot site itself can help decide how that money will be utilized over the course of those 3 years. but that's in collaboration with the main man to raise that funding. If you could scroll up some, that would be helpful, Steph.
To where?
If you could go to the second section and the main man responsibilities. So, the main man's has been created to help with technical assistance. Like Stephanie said, we're documenting what we do as the different. The main man has been working together and collaborating with the advisory board, the working board, the work groups. We've created bylaws, core principles, policies, continuing to create budgeting and governance and decision making, and work redesign templates. And so those will help people to not start from square one and really help develop their pilot site. And if you could go back to the document, that's helpful, Stephanie. Thanks. And then, with that, we're also developing our Weezer platform, which will help with all the transactions and exchanges and help with project sharing and the information between the different pilot sites. We're working together on crowdfunding and grant writing assistance and workshops, and then we'll be doing evaluation together. So we will continue to evaluate our progress and share what's been working for each pilot site and what hasn't been, and the different local conditions which contribute to that. And then the pilot sites, those responsibilities Stephanie had talked about briefly, about being mutually beneficial, that the initiative or organization's body agrees to be a pilot site, that there's a 3-year commitment, that there's succession planning, and also planning how the mutual aid pilot site will operate with governance and those decisions, and being willing to share all their learning and templates and those sorts of things that are created in collaboration. So it kind of goes into those details, and you're welcome to read the document to get further detail. Can you scroll down more?
To where?
And we had talked about the financial arrangement, and as part of the arrangement is that 10% of funds raised with the help of the main man will go to the support of the main man, and then we talk about experimenting with the different types of tools that we're working with, and so we'll experiment with that together. And we already touched on the duration. So that's kind of the main points of the agreement. If you scroll down further, as part of the application process, some of the questions that we'll be asking to each pilot site. Here's the project description, and you can see some of these questions, like what's the social need or purpose that you'll be creating with the mutual aid network, what's your goals, the demographics and characteristics of the community. We have a lot of different pilot sites now, from rural groups to large cities like Chicago, and then also kind of the overview of the initiative, like which piece of the framework do you have now and which components are you going to be adding, and that kind of plan, and then what's your strengths and weaknesses at the moment, and how we can help. That's the previous documents. Stephanie, if you could scroll back up. So, and then, so those are kind of the questions we'll be asking each pilot site to provide information in their kind of application to be a pilot site and be willing to agree to the memorandum of agreement. This is our latest iteration. We're still open to feedback on these documents. They're not finalized, and we're looking to finalize them at the next working board meeting, which will be next Wednesday. So feel free to give us feedback on them as you see fit. So thank you. I guess the other thing I'll just mention a little bit about Chicago. Chicago's been an interesting pilot site, just because we've been working with networks of people. And so we're working with the Institute of Cultural Affairs, the Chicago Time Exchange, the Chicago Sustainable Leaders Network. Also talking with Barry, who's part of the Oak Park Marketplace and Time Bank, which is forming. And, we've also been working with Civic Lab. Civic Lab, the founder and kind of the force of that organization, which is a civic engagement kind of focused co-working space. He just moved to Georgia. The head of Chicago Time Exchange just moved to California, so we've been working to fill those gaps and work with people as we're restructuring leadership roles and taking those individual organizations forward so they can be in a better position to collaborate as a mutual aid pilot site. We're also working with a group that's forming a Chamber of Commons. When Michelle Bowens, who's the founder of the P2P Foundation, which is like peer-to-peer foundation, came, he inspired a group of people to work on that initiative. So there'll be a group of people that are also interested in building the commons and mutual aid network principles and core values. So they're also collaborating in this initiative. And that's kind of where we're at with Chicago.
Cool. Thank
I'll take
you.
this moment to just thank you so much, Chris. I just wanted to add in, as a, on the tail there, I did not mention the Mid-Michigan Time Bank at all in what I was talking about of what's going on here in Lansing. The Time Bank is the glue. It is such an integral part of everything. People that are in all these other networks are Time Bank members, and we just need to bring them all into the fold. And so I didn't mention the Michigan Time Bank because it's ubiquitous, or at least it's starting to feel that way here in Lansing. Okay, that's it.
Great. So I apologize. I want to acknowledge that it's 6 minutes after the hour, and I wanted to give people a chance to leave right on the hour or to choose to keep talking. So if anyone needs to leave right now, and you just let us know, and you want to say your goodbyes, and then I also wanted to propose, Helen, we haven't heard from you yet, and I'm wondering if we heard from back up next week. Oops, sorry, there's some echo. I'll put on my headphones. So first question, if you need to leave now, could you just speak up? And otherwise, we'll only go another 10 minutes or so. Anyone need to leave right now? No. So then, okay, so we actually didn't make our topic for next week. We wanted to see what people want to do. We can keep talking about pilots and do more of a discussion about potential pilot sites and hear from Helen, who we didn't hear from yet today, and some other pilot sites, or if you feel like there's another area you want to delve into. So let's just take a moment we'll just go around as though we're in a circle, and you can say whatever you want. If you have questions for anyone today or something that you want to pick back up on, or what else you want to focus on in the coming weeks. Or if you feel you're done and you want to close out, that's fine. So Chris, I'm just going to go around the circle. So whatever you would like to focus on in the coming weeks or right now in discussion.
I just wanted to mention, we have the Man Up Summit coming up August 20th to the 28th. We're working to finalize that schedule. If people still want to offer workshops or have workshop sessions that they would like to see, feel free to contact us. Also, we have our fundraising campaign to help with not only building up our movement, but also helping with this specific summit that's coming up. So please contribute and share that far and wide. That would be helpful.
Thank you. And that is a need that is becoming really pressing. We really need you guys to help us get the word out and get this funded, because we are bringing some really great people to town for this summit. And if we have a way to pay for their travel, that's ideal. All right, Barry?
Enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign.
Well, what struck me is an approach that I'm using. There are two things on my mind. One, I'm getting a lot of echo.
Yeah, is someone who can tell someone's phone? I mean, we're just hearing someone's phone dealing with the. I'll mute everyone but you. Well, go ahead and see if it stopped. Sorry.
Okay, sure.
Never mind. I'm muting everyone but you. Give me a moment. I can't do that because you're on the phone. So I'm just going to ask people again to identify if it's.
Hello.
All right, go ahead, Barry.
Echo gone, it seems. So two things on my mind. One is in regard to my own work, that I'm modeling so much of what you're doing with man. And on the other hand, the other thing on my mind is that the approach I'm using is whole community, because I think it takes the whole community to solve the big problems of our times. And what I've been finding in the work that I'm doing is people on the left and people on the right and people on the center have positive responses. So my concern is that I wouldn't want to emphasize anything that sounds lefty to people on the right.
Yep.
And that's it.
Great. I'm with you there. But yes, we do often sound lefty at times. But yes, I think that this crosses a lot of boundaries. Bruce?
Am I unmuted? Yes. Yeah, to me, it's having started with Time and Man in October. All of this is still a learning curve, a little flatter than before, but all of these sessions help deepen my understanding of what we're already tapping into and the future potential. So I'm looking to really go further with that deepening process by meeting some of you in person and doing trainings in some of these issue areas. So it's all an inspiring and at times wild ride that that I'm enjoying thus far. So look forward to meeting some of you in August.
Thank you. Karen. And also, and Karen, you can go ahead and say that what you wanted to about the website. And a lot of the echo is with you, so I'm just going to keep you muted when you're not speaking.
Okay, that's fine. Sorry about that.
So go ahead and...
Yes, I'd like everyone to that does social media at all, even just a tiny bit, to see on the website now we have the Twitter feed, which every time a new tweet is posted, it will show live. There's only 2 here because we're just trying to keep it, above the fold, we call it, so we don't take a lot of room. You can click that little arrow to retweet. You can click the little arrow is to retweet, to
Reply.
reply, retweet, and favorite. So those are ways you can participate with this stream of tweets. If you scroll down the website, you'll see where we've created specific tweets for you to share with your own groups and people that you might know that are influencers that haven't, really kind of gotten involved yet but have an interest. You can share these tweets with them, and that way they are given the information. They can review it on the website and make sure that they're interested and they want to be involved. But these are exactly set up for tweeting with the wording and the hash signs and everything. And then Facebook posts we have a little bit larger because you can do that on Facebook. And it's basically covering the two topics of the funding and the summit that we're really trying to spread the word on. And so it's that same concept of somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. If we can get these things out, then the more people there will be eventually to participate in this wonderful project.
Great, thank you so much. So everybody, please go ahead and do that stuff on your social media. Eric, and you are muted yourself.
All right, can people hear me?
Yes.
Awesomeness. So I just want to say, first off, I really appreciate all the great work that's going on. This is beautiful. This is lovely. We are changing the world, people. So give yourself a pat on the back. We mentioned potential agenda items for next time, and I would like to discuss decision making, not necessarily in terms of for the mutual, who makes decisions about the networks themselves, but more so, how do we create decisions that will help us figure out what projects would be good for our community? How do we incorporate a collective decision-making tool to do things like that, and what might that look like? So there are some. I have some ideas, and I'd like to show some people some things if that fits within the scope. And I can certainly talk with Stephanie about that. But I'm hoping that whatever that is could be a potential project within or a pilot within the mutual aid network. So other than that, I'd also like to maybe at some point break down, for those that might think it's a little bit more ambiguous, I'd like to go through this memorandum and see if we can just talk more about some of the pieces that are elaborate, I guess, on some of the pieces in that. Otherwise, I'm really, really happy to be doing this. I think we definitely have to keep this up, and I believe that these are the small conversations that lead to big conversations that lead to history making. So let's keep it up.
Great, thank you. And those are excellent suggestions, and we will definitely get to those in the Web Summit. And then just for everybody's information, we will go very in-depth on these topics in the in-person summit in August. We'll have James Priest here from the UK doing in-depth sociocracy training over the course of many hours, over the course of many days. And we'll also have some people from Art of Hosting here from Chicago and working on really developing some solid processes for exactly that, bringing people together, figuring out common goals and figuring out how to move forward working on a project. So excellent suggestions, and we will take you up on those for sure. Helen?
Well, I put my links for my stuff, but yeah, that would we don't have time to go into my stuff today, so I'm happy to do it at the next time if you want me to, because my vision is really how I'm tapping in the main man integrating it with the wellness-oriented trainings that I've had my life's work, and then my natural network. So the Experimental Aircraft Association is full of people that apparently can afford to fly and are involved in some aspect of aviation and other businesses, big businesses involved in supply for aviation, and even like Ford Motor is and Honeywell are big people in this. So I learned a lot by actually coming to this gathering.
Great.
But then my other natural networks, like the Association of Applied and Therapeutic Humor, which is a very diverse makeup of teachers and medical people and lay people, all involved in some aspect of health and wellness, as well as entities like school nurse associations and quality early childhood learning networks. So people that are very vested in healthy families and helping families to stretch their income. So that's my aspect and why I want to be able to say that the woman is fully integrated into the man, and that all this strategic framework of health resources will be offered for anybody in as an individual or as a pilot project, around the globe. So
great, thank you. And we will get to yours next week. I really apologize for that.
And I do have one more request. Since I will be coming over to Madison at some point before, can I begin dialoguing with somebody who's willing to let me either put my cot up in a room or their garage, or I have a tent, and I would like
we
to
are working on finding homestays. So yeah, we're making requests from our members, and we'll be lining stuff up here.
So you just tell me when is okay for me to come over, and I'll keep working over this side.
All right, great. John Quinlan. So this is just checkout. I will need to end this meeting in about 5 minutes, just so you guys know. So John, if you can, go ahead and jump in. And I'm going to skip over to Laura Garrett. Laura, do you have anything in particular that you'd like us to focus on in future web meetings, or is there anything that you wanted to close out with?
I don't have anything in particular. I'm just still trying to get up to speed with everything, but I am excited to get going, to be able to help do something. So I'm looking forward to hopefully meeting with you or somebody here in Madison to be able to get some sort of assignment.
Great. I'm happy to do that. We have plenty to do. So yeah, just be in touch. I think you can probably reach me on email, and we'll set that up.
Okay. All right.
Great.
Sure.
I believe Michael is out of commission, but if not, you're welcome to jump back in. Okay. You have a checkout or something you want us to focus on in the future?
Yeah, well, I wanted to say, Eric, about the ideas that he was speaking with about, determining community needs and how those conversations should happen. That's fabulous, and I'm really psyched to hear that we're going to be getting into that in August. And my other just a little idea was possibly, as we're all going through the process, if we could create sort of a kind of like a roadmap, like a 1, 2, 3 process or checklist of a lot of the things that a pilot site needs to gather together. Like was mentioned, like what's the individual membership agreement? What's the, and the MOA does a lot of that, but maybe in just kind of that punch list kind of thing. I just know that for me, I'm sort of trying to create that, and I think maybe we can collaborate on having that so that we can feel prepared when we start moving forward and just have all of our ducks in a row. So
yes, great. And maybe we'll start that with the social working group, but I'm really hoping that we can get some work done on that when we're all together in August. Great. Scott Murto. All right. And Simon. China, you'll need to unmute yourself. Hello. Glad you could join us, and if you get a chance to unmute your phone, we'd love to hear from you. And in the meantime, Tim Dalton.
Hi guys, I agree with Michael G. Some of the points that Eric brought up are really pretty good. I'm very interested in talking about these decision-making tools because one of the things we're doing here is trying to get into participatory budgeting in my township, and that's a big part of it. And I'll be in touch with a lot of people. I want to talk to Karen too, and such. Plenty to do.
Cool.
Oh, there was on the main website. I'll get back to you. No sweat.
Okay. So, all right, Tony, anything you want to focus on in the future during these?
Well, thank you, Stephanie. This is a wonderful thing you're doing. I love the idea of an innovation, learning, testing, bottom-up approach. This is like a dream come true. I'll be delighted to participate down the road. Thank you again. To you and your team, this is great. Thanks.
Well, thank you to everyone. I'm going to need to sign off and head to another meeting, but we have some good agenda items for the future. We will join each other at the same time next week, 10 a.m. Central Time. We can talk about some more pilot sites. We can have some more open discussion and then move into some things about the decision making. I think probably during the Web Summit we'll touch on those things, but not go really in depth, but maybe sort of set up the framework for how we approach those in August when we're here in person, just because we're going to get a lot more opportunity to really dive deep. But I really welcome you to help shape what happens here in August. Check out what we have up on the site already. We have the schedule in progress. I did put this in the chat. I'll put it in the chat again just so you can find it easily. And then on the website, we have what's already sort of nailed down more, and we are still really open to suggestions. And then again, we really, really need people to start sharing this crowdfunding site. We have to really raise $10,000 at least so we can bring people here and then also have money left over to keep moving forward. So, but things are shaping up really well. I haven't seen it out today, but I should have an article in Huffington Post today. So watch for that. And oops, I accidentally just sent those last things just to one person. But watch for the article in the Huffington Post and please share it and just be sharing all this stuff as broadly as you can. We're about to hit the press really hard so people around the world know what's going on and can start connecting. So thanks again, and we will talk to you next week. In the meantime, you're welcome to join the main man, sign up on our mailing list, and share this with your friends. All right, see you soon. Take care.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you. So long,
Bye.
thanks.
Thank you.
Steph.
Bye. Bye.